Welcome to Psychology Radio. I am Stressy Reaction, and we are going to be talking about the vocabulary in Chapter 14, which is Stress and Health, focusing on the vocabulary words so that we can get an A on the test. The first one is stressor. A stressor is different from stress. A stressor is a specific event or the chronic pressure that place demands on a person or threaten their well-being. Stress, on the other hand, well, that's the physical and psychological responses to internal or external stressors. The source of stress can be caused from many places, but some of the big ones are natural catastrophes, personal life events, or little everyday annoyances, like a bully at work, or a lot of homework, or something that you can't get over quickly. A stressful event. People tend to get sick after major life events. Even both positive and negative events. They both can cause stress, even if they're a good, happy thing. Chronic stressors. Well, the source of stress that occurs continuously or repeatedly, that's a chronic stressor, something that can accumulate to produce distress and even illness. Chronic stressors, always happening, continuously, repeatedly. Perceived control over stressful events is the next section. That's where stressors challenge us to take some action to eliminate or overcome the stressor. Expecting that you will have some control over what will happen is associated with effectiveness of dealing with stress. Events appear most stressful when there is just nothing to do about them and you're just not sure how you're going to handle it. Some stress reactions, there are higher levels of depression, anxiety, and isolation when you're stressed out. Sometimes you perform poorer on tasks when you're stressed, and stress affects every system of the body, all the systems. Physical reactions to stress, you can have a fight or flight response. That's an emotional or physiological reaction to an emergency that increases readiness for action. It activates the sympathetic nervous system, the adrenal glands, and it releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone. The General Adaptation Syndrome, or GAS, was developed by Hans Selye, S-E-L-Y-E, not sure how to pronounce that. He's a Canadian physician. He determined that the severe stress takes a toll on the body. No matter what the source of the stress was, it all takes a toll. He divided it into 3 phases, and he calls it the GAS thing. So GAS stands for General Adaptation Syndrome. General Adaptation Syndrome. And the first phase is the alarm phase. The alarm phase, the body rapidly mobilizes its resources to respond to the threat. Energy is required and stored fat and muscle is used. In the second phase of GAS, the resistance phase, the body adapts to its high state of arousal as it tries to cope with the stressor. It continues to draw on stored fat and muscle, shuts down unnecessary processes like digestion, growth, sex drive, menstruation, testosterone, and sperm even decreases. This is to help generate the energy required for the resistance. Phase 3 of GAS is the exhaustion phase. This is where the body's resistance just collapses. Many of the resistance phase defensive just create gradual damage so that they operate, or as they operate, leading to susceptibility to infection, tumor growth, aging, irreversible organ damage, or even death. The immune system has a response system that protects the body from bacteria and viruses. Your white blood cells, or the lymphocytes, produce antibodies that fight infection. Stressors wear down the immune system and make it less able to fight invaders. So when you're stressed out, you're not as likely to be able to fight all of the things that want to come and attack your body. All the bacteria and the viruses, they're going to get right in there because you're less able to respond. Your immune system takes a huge hit. Let's talk about cardiovascular health here for just a minute. The chronic stress creates changes in the body that increase your blood pressure. Now, stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, we already know that, which increases the blood pressure. With prolonged stress, the blood pressure stays elevated and eventually damages your blood vessels. Long periods of time, it can lead to heart attack. You can see the writing on the wall, so let's take control of the things that are stressing us out and handle them before they kill us, right? Type A personalities. These kind of people are easily aroused. They're hostile, impatient. They have a sense of urgency, maybe, that nobody can understand. They're competitive. These types of people, they are more likely to have a heart attack than type B people, which are generally more laid back, right? So if you're a type A kind of a person, Get a grip on your stress for your life, for everyone's sake, really. Psychological reactions. Well, let's talk about stress interpretation. They have primary appraisal and secondary appraisal. Primary appraisal is where interpretation of a stimulus, it determines whether the stimulus is stressful or not, okay? Something just happened. Is that stressful or not stressful? That's my primary appraisal. The secondary appraisal happens right after, and it says, is the stressor something that you can handle or not? And to help determine that, it divides it into a threat or a challenge. If the stressor is a threat, that means you believe that you might not be able to overcome it. It's something that there's no way you can do it, like a pop quiz that you are absolutely not prepared for. If it's a challenge, that's a stressor that you feel confident you can control, like a pop quiz that you actually are prepared for. Moving on to stress management, there are ways to counteract psychological and physical stress. These reactions are you can manage your mind and body in the situation. With mind management, you can do things like the not so great side, which is repressive coping, which is where you avoid the situations or the thoughts which are the reminder of the stressor. This is maintaining an artificially positive viewpoint. Somebody asks you if you're doing okay, you're really not, but you say, oh yeah, I'm doing fabulous. That's not good. This means you are deliberately avoiding problems. On the flip side, you've got rational coping. This is the good method, where you're facing the stressor and working to overcome it. There's a 3-step process to helping you overcome some of these stresses. The first one is acceptance. Realize that the stressor exists, right? We all have to just take on and own that something's happening. Then you got exposure, which is attend to the stressor. Think about it to work through it, right? And then understanding. Work to find meaning of the stressor in your life. If you can do that, you're going to be able to handle it a lot better. One of the ways that you can try to do that is by reframing. Reframing is where you find new ways to think about the stressor that reduce the threat. Maybe turn it into more of a challenge, something that you have an active control in. The next section is body management. We talked about how stress presents as tension in your neck, muscles, back pain, knots in the stomach, stuff like that. Well, there are things that we can do to help. One is relaxation. There's techniques for reducing tension by consciously relaxing muscles of the body. One, get into a comfortable position, quiet down, quiet your mind. Focus on something repetitive or soothing, like breathing in yoga breathing, or you're focusing on the actual breath coming in or out of your body instead of letting your mind just wander and let thoughts go all over the place. Just bring you down to a nice quiet level so that you can calm your mind. It reduces symptoms of stress and cortisol levels. So that's good. That's relaxation and we want it. Another option is aerobic exercise. It increases the heart rate and oxygen intake for a sustained period of time. So you can increase the neurotransmitters, which release endorphins and serotonin, which reduce stress and improve happiness. That's another reason to exercise. Makes you happy. You can eat wisely because stress tempts us to overindulge. Try to avoid smoking, drinking, and drugs, and avoid sexual risks. Situational management is the next section, where she talks about changing your situation as a way of reducing the impact of stress on your mind and body. One would be social support, which is gained through interacting with others. Lonely people tend to feel more stressed out. Statistically, women are more likely to seek social support than men. So men, if that's you, go ahead and get out there, reach out to a buddy, go do whatever you need to do, and don't feel worried about reaching out and getting that social support and building that network of people that are going to be able to help you. Humor is also another fun way to diffuse unpleasant situations and bad feelings. In personality and health, I talk about optimism, where you expect the best in uncertain times, compared with pessimism, which is where you expect the worst. Optimists are more likely to have positive emotions and less depression and anxiety and better relationship with others. Pessimism can be trained to become more optimistic, so there is hope. Don't think forever that you can't do something like that and that will always turn out awful. There is hope. You can train your mind. You can do this, you guys. Come on. With hardiness. Hardiness is where you become more stress resistant. Some people are naturally found to be more resistant to stress, and they have these 3 common traits. And they happen to all start with a C. So the 3 C's of hardiness, they are commitment, control, and challenge. So commitment, control, and challenge are the 3 hardiness traits. With commitment, you become more involved in life's tasks. You have a belief in control and expect your actions to have an influence over your life and your environment. And finally, with challenge, you're willing to accept the challenge. Take it on and accept the opportunities for growth and see them in that way. There are other health-promoting behaviors like self-regulation with exercise, which is voluntary control over the self to bring self into line with preferred standards, controlling of impulses, and having inner strength and willpower. There's one section on burnout, which was really fun to learn about. The state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion created by long-term involvement in an emotionally demanding situation results in lowered performance and motivation. There are a couple of things that you can do to relieve your burnout. Take a vacation. Go and get some social support. Go hang out with the buddies. Watch a game. Do whatever. Go have a craft. Go take pictures and do photography. Keep your boundaries with your work environment or school environment and stop checking your email all hours of the day. Have boundaries with your coworkers and your peers, and have a support, either at work or outside of work or outside of school. The last section is about somatoform disorders. Psychosomatic illness is an interaction between the mind and body that can produce illness. It's a hypersensitivity to the symptoms and the possibility of illness. That's psychosomatic illness, the possibility of illness. Somatoform disorder is where the patient displays physical symptoms not fully explained by a general medical condition. That's somatoform disorder. They can't figure out what's wrong with you. It could be somatoform disorder. Hypochondriasis is where a person is preoccupied with minor symptoms and develops exaggerated belief that the symptoms signify a life-threatening condition. Kind of like you scratched your toe, and so you think they're going to have to cut off your whole leg because the toe is going to become gangrene, and oh my gosh, everything you looked on WebMD, and now you have cancer of the brain. I mean, you just way overthink it and think that you have everything under the sun. This does happen, so you don't want to make fun of people that are in this situation, but we certainly don't want to promote that, right? Well, I hope you guys had fun with our first Psychology Radio, which is Chapter 14, Health and Stressors, and I hope you get an A on the test.